going on, Jerome? So the Minnesota Vikings drafted JJ McCarthy, number 10 overall, highest drafted quarterback in team history. And yes, he is definitely the future, right? So he's got all the tools. He's only 21, so he's got plenty of room to grow and show. And it does seem that Kevin O'Connell and company, that they do have a redshirt plan for him. Basically just sit, learn, work on mechanics, digest the playbook, get some good practice in, learn how to be a pro's pro, and then just sort of go from there. And of course the talking points right now in the media is who's going to start. Slinging Sam Darnold, the former number 3 pick in 2018, now with the Vikings, now in a good situation for the first time in his career, other than the 49ers last year as a backup for Kyle Shanahan and company, or the upstart rookie JJ McCarthy. Now, given everything that O'Connell has said, the expectations on McCarthy are extremely low, as they should be, because the problem is, like, when you have a highly drafted quarterback, especially ones in the top 10 or top 5, is that there's too much pressure to get them out on the field right away, and there's sometimes tossed to the wolves, sort of sink or swim before they're ready. It's what happened with Sam Darnold with the Jets, even though with the Jets, I don't think things were ever going to be ready. But long story longer, could it be more of a competition for, instead of McCarthy going for quarterback 1, but quarterback 2? Because remember, you still have veteran Nick Mullens on the rooster as well. He's the guy who does have the most experience with the Kevin O'Connell offense, and also the only guy who was here last year besides Jaron Hall. But nah. And also, Paul Allen, voice of the Minnesota Vikings, 9 to noon. Also, voice of Canterbury Park. And the racing says that it is potentially going to be a horse race for the quarterback positions, and JJ McCarthy could be a long shot. But of course, as we know, and of course, as Paul Allen has seen a time or two, sometimes long shots pay off. Purple Suede put this together. According to PA on the mic on KFan 9 to noon, he makes blah, 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 blah. Prohibitively favored the Vikings to keep 3 quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, JJ McCarthy, and that's a longish shot fashion. McCarthy wins the backup job. Quote, I would make it prohibitively favored in that it would be Darnold starting, Nick Mullins as the backup, and then JJ McCarthy as the third quarterback. But this is an opportunity for McCarthy. Puncher's chance would be too strong, but long-ish shot fashion to win the 2 job in training camp, quarterback 2 job. And I don't necessarily know if it's going to happen, but I would make 3 quarterbacks on the active rooster prohibitively favored. Now, the thing about it is, like, it is nice that you're able to save a roster spot when you carry 2 quarterbacks on the 53, right? But if the Vikings do have McCarthy as quarterback 3, obviously you're not going to try and get him through waivers onto the practice squad, because even though you can protect up to 4 players on the practice squad on a rolling basis, he has to pass through waivers in the first place. Obviously that's not going to happen, right? And also, even though they changed the rules for the emergency third quarterback and he can be on the practice squad, he can't be your quarterback 2. So if you call up a practice squad quarterback, so like if they got Mullins through waivers onto the practice squad, they can't just call him up and him be QB2 and McCarthy be QB3, the emergency quarterback who can only come in if for the QB1 and QB2 are out. So that doesn't work either. So if McCarthy is truly quarterback 3, they have to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and they have to burn an extra roster spot, which could have gone somewhere else, but they're using it on a quarterback. Now, of course, Darnold, getting $10 million. He is the prohibitive favorite to be your starter for week 1 heading into the season. He took nearly all of the first-team reps during OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Also even stayed a couple extra days during the last session of OTAs, really getting some good work in with his new teammates and new surroundings. And it's his best opportunity that he's ever had to make some hay in the National Football League as a starter. And also, I think it's interesting that O'Connell gravitated towards Nick Mullins, who, of course, got his start with Kyle Shanahan and company with the Niners before he ended up with the Raiders, and the Vikings traded for him before the start of the season 2 years ago. And then also Sam Darnold, who obviously was a backup of Shanahan last season. So stylistically, there's a lot of crossover between what the quarterback is asked to do in the 2 offenses, the Shanahan and McVay offensive trees. So it does make sense, right? But I just thought that was interesting. And with Mullins, I know that people will poo-poo on Mullins, but there was a lot to like from Mullins last year. Now, obviously him being thrown in the fire, if Mullins' back hadn't been an issue, and if he hadn't been on injured reserve when Kurt went down, Maybe they don't force Jaron Hall out there, and maybe Josh Dobbs, the Passionate Mania, doesn't happen. Like maybe Mullins just comes in there, is serviceable, maybe doesn't have like a 2017 Case Keenum type season, but is decent. Because in the three games he started, both Lions games and the Bengals games, like he averaged over 300 yards. Now, in those 3 starts, he also had 8 interceptions. All right, so the problem with Nick Mullins is he'll have a good play, and then he'll have a mind-numbingly stupid play, right? And also you saw that with Josh Dobbs too, so it's not – and you've seen that throughout his career. Like he does have basically a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Actually, I think it's more interceptions, right? But Mullins, he can operate the offense. And Jefferson put up good numbers with him. He and Addison had some good rapport as well. And like he can move the offense in a pitch. Like even though he gave the ball away 8 times last year, that definitely impacted his quarterback rating. He still completed almost 68% of his passes, which is almost nice, right? And also 8.8 yards per attempt. It's pretty damn good. So he wasn't just Charlie checkdown, like he was moving the team vertically, right? So if they do keep Mullins as quarterback 2, and they're sticking with the plan to have McCarthy just completely redshirted, I wouldn't be mad at that, right? But puncher's chance, like PA alluded to, even though he said that McCarthy doesn't really have a puncher's chance, like sometimes long shots come through, all right? And it goes back to the 2012 Seahawks. You know, Pete Carroll, you know, all up in there, coming in from USC, established for a couple years. You know, also remember T-Jack, rest in power, was the 2011 starter. Yeah, but they signed Matt Flynn, who had been the backup in Green Bay, to a 3-year, $20.5 million deal. Right, so in the grand scheme of things, that was actually decent starter money back in the day. So they made a pretty significant financial commitment to Matt Flynn. Right, but also in the 2012 draft, they picked up Russell Wilson, the pride of NC State. Even though he had a mercenary year in Wisconsin, we don't talk about that. But Russell Wilson, so not even a first-round pick, not even a second-round pick, third-round pick, Russell Wilson, right? And you know he did some good things at OTAs, but training camp and preseason is where Russ really started to cook. And again, this is before Russ became like weird and stuff. So whatever. But eventually, like Russ played so well in training camp, it forced Pete Carroll's hand. And even though they have just paid Matt Flynn all this money, Russell Wilson was a better quarterback, and he rolled with the rookie. Now, could this be possible could this be possible with JJ McCarthy? It's a non-zero chance, sure. But Actually, I think that McCarthy's high draft status sort of works against him as a rookie, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, like if McCarthy sits all year because Darnold's playing well and they want to sit McCarthy, I'm fine with that, right? But could McCarthy just come in and just completely tear it up, right? So he's been around TCO. He's been at East Ridge High School, working out with Thielen and various teammates. He's been putting in that work, and the kid's a grinder. Like he's going to work his ass off, and I mean, he's got the tools, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that he acclimates quickly, right? Although I think a redshirt season would certainly benefit him. I mean, if he comes in and he proves that he's the best quarterback, let's kick the tires, light the fires, Big Daddy. Let's just go, right? So it's a non-zero chance, but again, I'm putting zero expectations on McCarthy. I like Mullins a lot more than a lot of other people, and I think Darnold has a great opportunity here, like probably the best in his NFL career. Like honestly, if you can't get it done with an offensive-minded guy like Kevin O'Connell as your head coach and play caller, a very emerging offensive line with one of the best tackle duos in the league with Darisaw and O'Neal, a resurgent running game led by Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, and obviously the best receiver duo in the league with Jefferson and Addison. Oh yeah, you get Hawkinson back eventually. If you can't succeed with that, it was never going to work out. Better start learning Chinese, bro. So there you go. But your thoughts are thoughts. Paul Allen thinks that it's a longish shot for JJ McCarthy to even land the QB2 job. We'll see. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.